Yeah, sometimes we take a longer intro when we have technical hitches. All right, 16 minutes past your hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Norte by Nature. Tell a friend to tune in. I'm glad to say my guest is seated now. Dr. Bertha Adjei, right. You may recall that when we had COVID in, we were speaking to her online. She's the president of the Ghana Physicians and Surgeons Foundation of North America. She's a consultant in infectious diseases, and she's with us today to talk about hair straightening chemicals and cancer risk. She's a strong advocate for early detection of breast cancer, something we've been following for the past couple of weeks as part of the end part of the October focus on breast cancer. Doc, you're most welcome, and it's great to finally have you physically in my studio.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Hey, just call me Naughty by Nature.
Okay, Naughty by Nature.
Naughty by Nature, not Naughty by Nature.
Naughty by Nature.
Great to have you, and I know you're flying back to the U.S. tonight, but we couldn't let you go without talking about some of these important things. Now, in October, ending of October, the National Institute of on Health released this interesting study on the association between hair straightening chemicals and uterine cancers, right? And it's opened the gates for a lot of discussion. There's already been discussion about, let me call it, cosmetics and cancer risk. But why is this one so important, especially when we zone in and zoom in on black women?
Well, I think the most important thing is that the thing that defines a woman as a woman is having a uterus. You know, I know we have a lot of discussions about gender, who is a man, who is a woman, but if you have a uterus, you're a woman.
Right.
And so we're talking about something that affects half of the world. And I think what was most alarming was that in the sister study, which essentially followed over 50,000 women who were related to people who've had breast cancer over an 11-year period, is that they found 378 cancers, cancers affecting the uterus. And although the risk was not higher for black or white women in particular, the fact is they found that those who tended to use hair straighteners more than 4 times a year had 4 times the risk of developing uterine cancer.
Okay.
So it didn't matter whether you were white or black. In fact, the study had only 7.7% black women.
Right.
But it's the fact that black women are the ones who tend to feel that they need to straighten their hair to look like their Caucasian counterparts.
Okay.
And so it's alarming that this is a very preventable risk.
Okay.
We don't have to straighten our hair.
It's a risk we can modify.
Yes,
straight away.
We're beautiful just as we are. And so if the chemicals over time are increasing the risk, then that is an issue. And the interesting thing is that apparently 2 years before that, that same group had released results that has to do with breast cancer, that hair straighteners was a clear increased risk for causing breast cancer.
Okay. Right. Let me catch my breath. You can catch your breath, and I hope you can hear us. We had some technical challenges starting up. We're discussing the association now found between hair straightening chemicals and cancer risk. And we're doing this on the back of a recently released study that followed, Doc just mentioned, over 50,000 women, right, who frequently used or who used these chemicals to straighten their hair, right, irrespective of whether they were black or white, okay? And the study found that women who had used the chemicals in the preceding year more than 4 times or 4 times minimum had a higher risk of uterine and I believe other cancers, but specific focus on uterine cancers, right?
Right.
Cancer in the uterus. Now, The important distinction is that black women patronize these chemicals more regularly and frequently than Caucasian women, and therefore that translates into a heightened risk. Okay, so yeah, that's what we're talking about, and the relationship between this and uterine cancers and other cancers. So that's really the focus, right? That this is a modifiable, avoidable risk. Okay, we've been talking about breast cancer, we've been talking about other cancers over the years, but this is a modifiable, clearly modifiable choice. And unfortunately, I'm sure Doc will follow me in confirming this. For black women and indeed black girls, the introduction to these chemicals is pretty early. So over several years, you are multiplying your risk. Have I broken it down properly?
You've broken it down perfectly well.
Right. So, but let's look at the science of it, okay? You take women who use these products, right? And you have a good sample, and then you follow them over 11 years.
Right.
And this study is saying in that period, over 300 cancers were identified.
Right.
And these cancers were not there before.
No.
Okay. Right?
No.
So they looked at the number of women who did not use these chemicals and still had cancer.
Right.
And compared that with the percentage of women who had cancer in this same
Right.
cohort,
Right.
but used the chemicals.
Yes.
So the
yes.
distinguishing qualifying factor was that in the women who used these chemicals, there was 4 times more risk.
Right. Those who did not use it, their risk was 1.08.
Right.
And those who had used relaxers, it was 4.78. So,
Okay.
I mean, I found that extremely alarming.
Right.
Because, like, I'm a typical black person. I grew up in Ghana.
Right.
And at some point, I had to question, why am I even relaxing my hair? I did it because you almost think it's the woman thing. You know, I turned 18 and all the women around me were relaxing their hair.
So when you relax, you've arrived.
Yes, you've arrived. To me, I thought, okay, now me too, I'm a woman. My hair is straightened.
Okay.
And then it didn't make sense. You know, every 6 weeks you go and relax your hair. It burns. It's uncomfortable. You put in these big curls, and then within a week it's flattened out, and you repeat the cycle. Like, I felt it was a senseless cycle I was going through. So
Okay.
without the study, I started questioning myself.
Right.
Why do I even have to relax my hair? So out of the blue in 2014, I just got a haircut and said, I'm going natural. I didn't have a scientific basis for it.
Okay.
But now it makes sense to me that I find more and more women trying to go with their natural hair.
Okay.
And so I think my message is, don't relax your hair. Feel good with the natural hair you have.
Okay.
Find a way of twisting it, locking it, braiding it, whatever our parents were doing before the introduction of hair relaxers. Because we've seen an increased risk in breast cancer. In fact, it's been estimated that by 2030, the incidence of breast cancer, especially in black women, will double.
Right.
And to think that we've all been taking a very ignorant decision. Most people relax their hair because they think they want to look beautiful.
Okay.
They don't know that, like, nobody would walk into a fire. If you know there's fire, you're not going to...
You won't go into a shop and buy
You
illness.
won't go and buy cancer. But that's
Right.
what we've literally been doing, trying to look beautiful in the name of cancer. And the other thing I found that really was also alarming was that it wasn't just breast or uterine cancer.
Okay.
It was fibroids. It was these hair loss disorders.
Okay.
And they all have one thing in common. They're all sensitive to estrogen.
Right.
The estrogen is the
These
hormone.
are called the hormone-related cancers.
Yes, it's estrogen is the thing that makes you a woman. It's what allows you to develop the female characteristics.
Right.
And too much of it would also give rise to these cancers. So apparently, when you sit down and the chemicals are relaxing your hair and you get what is called the burns, you know, but apparently during that period of apparently that's when these chemicals inside the hair straighteners
Right.
get into your body. So you do it every 6 weeks for many years, and over time, the hair you increase your risk of breast cancer. And what I found interesting is that Ghanaian scientists apparently have been measuring estrogen levels in women with breast cancer in this country, and they found higher levels of estrogen. They've also studied women who don't even have breast cancer, but who use hair relaxers versus those who don't use hair relaxers. And they have found that women who use hair relaxers in this country, Ghana, not another country, have higher levels of these circulating estrogens. So it's almost like every day you go perm your hair, you are increasing your risk of breast cancer. So I really want women, you know, when you don't know something, you don't know. But when you know it, you are empowered, especially when you have a prettier option. You really can leave your hair natural.
Right. Let me ask you this. So what you're saying essentially is that not just on the basis of this U.S. study.
No.
We have existing data and scientific evidence in Ghana, done on locals, done on Ghanaian women, which demonstrates this linkage.
Yes. The only thing our studies haven't done, and it could be due to lack of funds, because, you know, the National Institute of Health is heavily funded. The only two things that are different is that in both all the studies in the US and in Ghana, we haven't found the exact name of the chemical that leads to the cancer, but we know that a lot of these chemicals are what we call endocrine altering cancers. It means we know they change the estrogen levels. And the big difference between US and Ghana is that we haven't followed the women long enough. You know, the US one has 50,000 women being followed over 11 years. We probably don't have the money and the funding to track 50,000 women over an 11-year period, because if we did, we might be able to show the same degree of correlation.
Right. I know scientists are very precise, and I noticed the language in the study, right? The NIH study says that the associations were concerning. I've also read that the cosmetic companies have not yet responded directly to this released research. But are we exaggerating? I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. Right, that there's been a study, 4-point-something% over 1.08%, and so on and so forth. Some even have said that uterine cancer is quite rare. Put us on the right track. Are we creating a storm in a teacup, and are we frightening women, or are we just damaging business?
No, I mean, if I owned a hair relaxing company, I mean, I plan to go into cosmetics one day. I would not be happy at the news, but, you know, business has to be ethical.
Right.
I don't think they're exaggerating, because right from medical school and for many years, we've known that fibroids is 3 times as common in Black women between the ages of 18 to 30. Actually 3 to 4 times as common as Caucasians. And I wondered, like, what is it about? I have fibroids. They're not bothering me now, so I just don't have to take care of them. But I'm one of the many, many women who have fibroids. And some people have lost their lives doing fibroid surgery. Some people can have kids because of fibroids. So you're asking, is it because of these chemicals all along? Now, talking about scientific language, is it possible that it is something that the women are doing in addition to the hair straightening that is actually the cause of the cancers and not the hair straightening? But when you start measuring estrogen levels and you start noticing the fact that these chemicals have estrogen altering content, then it begins to make sense. And to even make it more plausible, for years, scientists wondered what the cause of lung cancer was. And now we know for sure that it's related to smoking. Those who don't smoke rarely get lung cancer. And now that we also understand that cancer is really, you know, people ask, what is cancer? It's just, instead of your cells looking normal and behaving in an orderly fashion, a switch goes off, the cell starts to look abnormal and starts to behave abnormally. And now we understand that breast cancer has estrogen receptors, progesterone receptors, and that Africans and Black people in particular have triple negative breast cancer.
Okay.
85% compared to 15% in white women. So clearly, something related to estrogen is stimulating our breasts, the breast cells in our women, to turn into cancerous cells.
Okay.
And all cancer, we really haven't found a cause for cancer. We know risk factors.
Right.
So if you identify a risk factor, the best thing to do is to modify it.
Okay.
You can't eliminate the risk, but if we can all just stop perming our hair, so to speak. And the truth of the matter is, Note, it's not like we were not born with curls. We just have more curls.
Mm-hmm.
We have stronger curls. We have tighter curls. And instead of enjoying the tighter curls, we choose to straighten them. I mean, I have a lot of white friends who tell me, oh, we wish our hair was like yours. Look, we can't do anything with ours. It just falls. And when they say it, I'm thinking, do black women actually know that the white people wish they had our hair?
Right.
Because they want theirs to be able to stand up like ours.
Okay.
And then we spend money to straighten it in the hopes that we think beauty is what the white woman looks like.
Right.
So we try and straighten it, and in the process, we're actually increasing our risk of breast cancer.
Okay, great stuff. If you just joined us, it's 32 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. The program is Ultimate Health, your ultimate guide to healthy living. We're considering the association and the link between hair straightening chemicals, right, and cancer. There's been a study released that draws us closer to the realization that there is a linkage between these straightening chemicals, right? Specific carcinogenic compounds are mentioned that are present as ingredients in these chemicals, and they've been found to be, should I say, potential culprits, okay? In a very, very, very well done study in the US. My guest in the studio is Dr. Beth Adjei. She's the president of the Ghana Physicians and Surgeons Foundation of North America. She's an infectious disease consultant, and she works at Essential Health West in Fargo in the U.S. She's a clinical assistant professor of medicine at the University of North Dakota and the Kansas Health Science Center in Ghana. She's an adjunct lecturer at the University of Development Studies and also at the University of Health and Allied Sciences and the Accra College of Medicine. We're looking at this important association. So she actually is a black woman, a Ghanaian, and hey, she's a strong advocate. I will activate my phone lines a bit earlier to get what you think. We do not want to engage in arguments about who looks prettier or better with permed or straightened hair. We are looking at the clinical findings and the implications for black women, not because they are black, but because they, I don't know whether to call it, they patronize these. I don't know whether to say, or be tempted to say we've been maybe hoodwinked into thinking this is some form of advancement or enhancement. But hey, when it comes to cancer, you do not want to go there. And that is why we're talking about this. My phone line 0302-216-541. 0302-216-541. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, and you can get in on the action. And WhatsApp is 055-1111-997. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. So, Doc, how are women taking this? I think I shared with you yesterday or a couple of days back. There's a woman in the U.S., I believe, who's, taken to the courts. She's suing one of the cosmetic brands, right? She's 32 or 38, right? And so she's had to have a full hysterectomy. She's lost her uterus, and she says she started using this at the age of about 14 or so, right? We're not going to go into the legal arguments, right? But her lawyers seem to have been energized by this research that was released, right? Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on, but how are women receiving this? What kind of response are we getting?
Well, I think, and that's why I'm here. I think women just haven't heard it. They don't know it. They don't understand it, and that's why you and I are doing it,
Mm-hmm.
doing this interview, so that we let, because knowledge is power.
Yeah.
When you're ignorant about something, you just go ahead and take certain decisions. Like I said, I started perming my hair probably about the age of 18, not because I thought it was the best for me. You find everybody doing it, and so you're just basically following the crowd.
Right.
But then when you get armed with power, now you can take an informed decision about your own health and not follow that route. So I want women to know the risk,
Right.
that anytime you're putting a chemical in your hair, you're actually increasing your lifetime risk of breast cancer. I mean, there are many risks for breast cancer. Essentially, the longer period a woman's breast is exposed to estrogen, the higher the risk. So
Right.
women who've never been pregnant, it means they've never had a 9-month period where their breast cells was not was didn't have estrogen around, or they were not breastfeeding, or sometimes it just runs in the family.
Right.
There's some risks that cannot be eliminated.
Right.
For example, women with the BRCA1 and 2 gene,
Right.
no matter what they do, they will get breast cancer, of course, unless they undergo breast removal surgery, bilateral mastectomy, then the risk goes down to 0. So there's some risk that is not modifiable. But to think we're trying to look like, straighten our hair,
Right.
and it will increase the risk, I think that's where I think any women group should be alarmed, from Methodist Church, Women's Fellowship, wherever women gather.
Right.
I think we should be talking
We should
about
be
this.
extending this education.
Yes, extending this education, empowering women, and encouraging them to go natural. I mean, after this came out, I interviewed a lot of people. I interviewed Dr. Gladys Forjo, who is a consultant ophthalmologist.
Right.
She's kept her hair natural since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
She said her hair was thinning. She was getting tired of doing it. And within 7 years, her hair is more than 18 inches long.
Right.
I've interviewed Bridget Jogbenuku, who is a former Miss Ghana and a presidential candidate. She went natural 2003 because she was busy. She had a baby. She's as happy as a lark. Now she has control over her time. I mean, going natural has so many benefits.
Right.
You don't have to be putting chemicals in your hair. It's less expensive. I think it's nicer anyway. So many benefits to it. It's a healthier choice. So
Okay.
I just want to encourage women that let's take our blackness back.
Right.
There's really no virtue in straightening or thinning out your healthy hair just because you want to attain a look.
Okay, great. My phone lines are active 0302216541. WhatsApp is 055 Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. But let me ask you this. In the interest of early detection, it's great to make the choice, the empowered, informed choice you're talking about. That's great. But if something is amiss, you have not examined yourself to see if something is wrong with your cells or something, is going on. When it comes to, for example, uterine cancer, is it akin to breast cancer where, you can do your examinations and pick it up early? Because we are very, very, very emphatic on early detection. So women listening to us may make that switch, may do that U-turn, right? Which essentially will be a cosmetic U-turn, but is there some test or something they should be doing, or some checkup that you would encourage that they do?
Right. So uterine cancer, the main thing is rather looking for signs and symptoms.
Okay.
If a woman has stopped menstruating, maybe she's 56, and then suddenly she notices that she's spotting or
Bleeding.
she's starting to bleed again,
Right.
It's cause to be concerned.
Okay.
The reality of it is that although we're
Postmenopausal bleeding.
postmenopausal
spotting.
bleeding, or maybe bleeding that just would not stop.
Okay.
Like it was just going on. And like the woman with the issue of blood in the Bible, she had been bleeding for 12 years. Maybe she had uterine cancer. Okay, of course, 12 years, uterine cancer would have spread.
Okay.
But it's mostly looking for signs and symptoms.
Okay.
And the truth of it, though, uterine cancers, I don't know about the data in Ghana, but in the US, it makes up only 3% of cancers
Right.
for women. So it's not that of a concern. The big one is breast cancer, which in Ghana and the US, it makes up 31% of all female cancers. So that's a big deal.
Okay.
And not only that, in Ghana, the mortality is 50%. It means half of all women who develop breast cancer in Ghana would die compared to 15% in the US.
Right.
And that's mostly because we don't do early detection.
Okay.
After the cancer has gone out of the tubes that make milk, it's too late. And even at that, even when you do self breast examination, if you feel a mass, sometimes it's still a bit too late. And I was very concerned in learning that our national health insurance does not cover mammograms, which cost between 300 and 500 Ghana cedis. So the recommendation now is for every woman to screen at age 40 and every year afterwards. And I don't think it will be affordable for most women. So I really want women's groups also to put pressure on the government that if half of, the Ghanaian economy is basically, I mean, with all due respect to our men, the women are holding the economy up. You just have to step in the streets of Accra and you realize that women are running the show in this country. And so if something is occurring, said that 4,000 women are dying every year from breast cancer, and the government can do something about it, like as simple as paying for mammograms, that's something that all women's groups should be telling the government to do.
Right. So let's draw the line in the sand and make sure that we know where we stand on these issues, not just as women, but basically as Ghanaians. We should have these things prioritized, and we should see our governments and the public purse putting more down to make sure that we can save lives.
Right.
And if you agree, it's not even in contention that women are a critical economic resource and force, right? Then we should be taking better care of women. Phone lines once again 0302216541. WhatsApp is 055 1111 997. Let's see what we got on WhatsApp. Good afternoon, Norte. It's good listening to Dr. Bertha in the studio. I've been following her contributions during the COVID-19, and it's good having her live in the studio. Ask her as to whether, again, men sucking breasts. Oh, we did that last week. We do it. Bila from Lower McCarthy Hill. Listen, I'll ask her, but I say, if you want to suck, you suck. Right? Don't pretend as if you are giving therapy or life-saving treatment. Doc, Ababium, they want to know if men sucking breasts, okay, is of help.
I'm sorry. I think this was good for the show for humor, but I don't think that, I could be, maybe it will be proven one day, especially if we find that during the period of sucking of breast, there's some hormonal changes that somehow reduces the risk of cancer. And that study can only be done in a control setting where maybe you have 20 women who have their breasts being sucked. You measure estrogen levels and measure that for, women who are not having that done. It will be a stretch, but until scientifically proven, I'm sorry to say that
you're not doing anything scientific, okay? If you have permission to suck and you're doing it in a committed relationship, that's your business.
Oh, yeah. Well, that one, it will involve couples. They'll bring, couples and...
But we don't want to unleash men out there with false scientific evidence.
Yes, that's, I'll reduce your breast cancer risk.
Okay, so it comes up every now and then. I hope we have dispatched it. But people want to do what they want to do. Okay, so you talked about spotting. Is there anything else that might be a telltale sign or symptom?
Usually uterine cancer, the uterus will become enlarged.
Okay.
So that's another sign,
Right.
and they could also cause pain.
Right.
But basically, it's not a very common type of cancer.
Okay.
Unfortunately, a lot of the time, by the time people find out, it has spread, just like cancer of the ovaries.
Okay.
And all these, including ovarian cancer, has also been shown to be related to all these endocrine disrupting tumors.
Right. Okay. I noticed also in the study that they well, I wouldn't want to call it a thumbs up, but there were certain other cosmetic products or hair products and other things that they found did not pose such a risk. I noticed that you're given a general caution. Right, because looking at the target population and all that, people are not paying attention to labels, contents, and so on and so forth. Is that the way to go? That generally, if you can, avoid these products.
I think that's the general consensus, and I think this would open up the room for a lot of research that will all find out more, because there's also the connection between skin lightness,
Okay.
A lot of our women want to look a little lighter than their skin, no matter how light they are. They just want a touch of it and
Right.
to look brighter. But they've all been shown to increase levels of estrogen,
Okay.
which by association
Okay.
can also increase the risk of.
All right.
breast.
46 minutes past the hour of 2. We've got a couple of minutes, a little shy of quarter of an hour to do the do. Great education on breast cancer and the link with hair relaxers. Please, how about hair dyes? I just asked my previous question based on that because I read specifically that the hair dyes were okay, but it does not necessarily become a universal qualification. Hair dyes, specific to the study, or anything else that you are aware of, Doc?
Right, yeah. Other studies have said the same thing about hair dyes. In fact, I had a lot of feedback. I didn't research it myself. In fact, I had several men send me messages that they've found studies, and these are physicians, that
Okay.
studies that men who use dyes for their beard, it's also been associated
Men are
with
dyeing their beard?
yes,
Hey,
those who go a
true.
little gray, they still want to look younger, and so
Hey,
that has been
boys are
associated.
bre-
Boys are brave. It's been associated with certain cancers. I didn't really look into it, but I think the
Okay.
dyes may have something. And we may, I think this would open the room for using our natural products.
Right.
Like, I'm sure there's a lot in our environment that is not toxic,
Right.
that may be able to achieve color change and all the other things
Okay.
that we desire without having to use toxic. In
Okay.
fact, one of the respondents, people I talked to, she said she's actually seen hair completely dissolve in one of these hair relaxers. Like, it was left in it and the hair just broke down. And it makes sense. That's how it straightens the hair.
Right.
And sometimes when it gets to that limit, your scalp starts burning.
Whoa. All right. That one was from Natalie. Natalie, thanks for sharing your question. This is from Dede in Maryland. Forgot about the time change and it just dawned on me and I logged on late. Don't know if my question had been already talked about. What about hair coloring, that dye we just talked about, that
Right.
Dede? Or one should go with henna, which is claimed to be natural. This is from Dede in Maryland.
I honestly don't know much about henna. I can look it up and, get back to you so that you can answer her question at some point.
Dede, which ones are you dyeing? The gray? Come on. My sister. The study actually was called the sister study, right?
Right.
Yeah, the one in the US. It's called the sister study. You can Google it or look it up. But yeah, why? I mean, let the hair be, right? Why do you want to? I mean, men dyeing their beards. Seriously? Come on. Okay, so there are some exemptions. I guess for scientific exactitude, you'd want to be specific in the chemicals or the products, but you're giving a general caution
Right.
that we should take seriously.
Right. Because until the causative agent has been found, the National Institute of Health also wants to make sure. So at this point, they've not named any company. They've not named Dark and Lovely
Right.
or L'Oreal, or they're just saying chemicals.
Right.
You should read and see, like,
Yeah.
you know what you use to relax your
Yeah.
hair. I don't think they want to get into legal trouble.
That's right.
Because the companies can also sue them for disrupting
Right.
their business based on the studies. But
Okay.
I think we all want to make sure we stay healthy to live long lives.
Okay.
And so it is.
And we have a right to.
Yes. So
Okay.
it's ethical for them to release these findings so that we can all arm ourselves with knowledge.
Okie dokie. So you don't necessarily need to go to court. Just protect yourself first and
Exactly.
foremost. All right. This is not something you're going to cash in on immediately. I'm sure the legal battles will be very, 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 very robust, right, in terms of proving that causal link directly. But it has been said, it has been established scientifically that there's cause for concern. And that's something we need to look at, especially when we consider the number of women we lose, not just in Ghana, the names, the faces, the families that have been touched by these cancers. Then as soon as we are in possession of this kind of information, we need to act,
Right.
not just argue,
Right.
not just quarrel or debate.
Right.
We need to
Right.
act, all right? And that action should save lives. WhatsApp is still active, 055 11 11 997. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. And my phone line, 030 222 221 6541. Right. Anytime I slow down, I mix up the digits. Right. So you can get in and speak to Dr. Beth Adjei. She's leaving tonight, sadly. Right. But she's look, she's homegrown. She's Ghanaian, as some people will say. She's straightened her brofo small, right? But not with chemicals. Would you want to speak Ghana just to convince them that?
Oh, you
Homegrown, and
Yeah.
she was here at Ghana Medical School, and also, let me add the Wesley girls before I get into trouble as well. All right, so we're looking at serious business here, right? And women need to take it serious. We've talked about telltale signs and symptoms. We've talked about things to look out for. I noticed in the study again, sorry, I'm hinging on the study, but they list and name particular culprit carcinogens, right? Are these things that you would see on a label?
You know, the interesting thing about labels, it is so small, you can barely read it.
Right.
It's like we're hiding the obvious from you.
Okay.
Yeah, and but just for the sake of it, I know this is an English program, but I think
Right.
a sentence or two. I think a lot of the time our vernacular speaking listeners may lose out. So let me
Okay.
just say in tree,
Right.
me pacho yehu say peppermint cream. Omo mo tell you see peppermint cream no ya ye adusuade wa broche bia me yehu say wa omo mo twi omo ti no cancer affect wa wode no omo nya no 4 times more impre 9 risk no sin omo mo twi omo ti inti mesre mo mo twi mo ti ye peme wo bo ha wa twi ni ti a mesre mo better say wo be pe kwan foforo bi aye oti se wo be bow se wo be ye sister locks so de wo be bia no eno ye sin se wo be twi oti enye cancer of the uterus nkwa breast cancer timi kum nipa ni nyina ye ho se wo twi oti a you are more likely say obenya breast cancer ni enya mi menhu ni yu organ hu mi nto ma haninye le akeshin at face studies ana akeshin meni me ke peppermint cream fi ametwe ke akwa ma hu ache ekume na cancer ni affect yo ofomoni ke ofofo ha fibroids fe ana akeshin ni bi chemical say no ni gbla o itwe na enyo hair feel straight na kan chemical say no hu ya ogbomocho mi na me ha o estrogen levels ya nwen ni over the course of a lifetime o cancer risk increase so in lack of turn o here fe for she jo he ba fe for no ba gbo ebo o he for mo e wo o fa ne nye keep anya hair natural.
Wow, you see, right? No na chonji o gbojogbomocho.
That's right.
All right, that's my interpretation. Please, is it spotting during pregnancy? Is spotting during pregnancy a sign of womb cancer?
No, it's usually related to the pregnancy itself. Although you can never say never. There are women who can develop cancer while they're pregnant, but that's very rare. You know, they
All right.
said when you when you hear of hooves, think of horses.
Right.
If somebody is pregnant and they start spotting, of course, their obstetrician would evaluate them
Yeah.
for what it is, but it's more likely related to
To the pregnancy.
the pregnancy.
All right,
then.
great stuff. Not a great show. This is Al Busha in Toronto, Canada. Okoboy, CEO of Health Insurance, should have been part of today's show. Total to the government regarding the expense of being the expense, or I guess covered by being covered by health insurance for our women for routine testing for early detection. So he's talking about policy here. Yeah, some of those people, I joust with them once in a while, but I tend to find that even when our best brains are harnessed for public positions, sometimes they don't speak as freely unless we're sitting at some beer bar. But well, I'll look at that side of it. The policy side of it is important. National health insurance should be national health insurance, and it should cover the things that bother us most.
That's
right. By all means, it can't cover everything, but it's a shame to hear that some of these critical, sometimes non-negotiable things in other parts of the world, Charlie, you have to pay out of your pocket. That's why when I hear hanky-panky going on with health insurance, I'm not happy at all. That's why the law says where the money should go, back, straight, right? But we do have governments playing games there as well. Okay, so, table to government to cost. Okay. All right. So this is about the policy for early detection. My regards to Better Ayi. Is that a nickname, or he intentionally spelled it like that?
Maybe he was in a hurry
All
typing.
right.
And
okay, I figured you maybe have some, nickname we don't know about. That's what my guests do sometimes. They'll surprise you with some nickname, or just so that they are listening. Right, we're almost out of time. It sounds like, hey, this is unambiguous, emphatic, right? Watch out for these chemicals. They're doing a lot of harm, and something is pointing us in this direction. What would you want to leave my listeners with?
Please, if you're a woman and you're black, you're beautiful just the way you are.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your hair natural.
All right.
And there are various shops. I know Dr. Fodjo and Bridget go to Kinky Roots,
Right.
next to the South African Embassy.
There's Kinky Roots, there's Black Cotton.
Black Cotton, the
Twist
same,
and
I think.
Locks.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
In Touch, all
Yeah.
these, and they would make you look nice. It's healthy. I went natural. Everybody tells me how
Even
good
if you're
my
sitting
hair
at
looks.
some kiosk in Kokobite and you are doing natural.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or you can just use the thread we used to use, and we should come back with
Yeah.
all those beautiful
Akweli
designs. Yes.
Oh my
they
goodness.
were very nice.
Whoa.
Very nice.
Okie dokie. Keep
Right.
it kpengpeshi.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Curly and kpengpeshi. Right.
Right.
Then you are safe. And so you're going back. There's a lot of you on this, the Ghana Physicians and Surgeons of North America, doing a lot of great work.
Right.
Great work. And you are also adjunct faculty here in Ghana, right? It's great to have had you and hosted you.
Thank you.
Let me thank you, but also wish you a safe journey. I know you are active all over the place, YouTube, everywhere, doing advocacy. And I'm wondering, how do you balance that with your actual work?
I work during the day, and you can't be working all the time. I actually enjoy all these other things I do. They give me the mental health to continue doing my regular work. And I also realize that we've all been given a very defined period of life to live. And so it's my way of making sure I'm living my life to the max. I'm emptying all that is inside of me.
Yeah.
I won't go to the grave with anything undone.
Right. Wow. Well, we're blessed to have you, and we hope to see and talk with you more on some of these issues. I know to many people, COVID is, history, but it is not. Okay, people are still getting COVID in Ghana, and we'll catch your thoughts on some of those things and what kind of phase we should be in. We've been talking about the new normal and all kinds of stuff, but it looks like vigilance is dropping, and so we'll be talking to you again on some of those other things.
Excellent.
All
Thank you very much for having me. I've
Right.
enjoyed being on your program.
Right, great stuff, Dr. Beth Ayi. Yeah, local homegrown, but we exported her a bit, lent her to the other people so that she could help them out. But she's well connected with us, and we've been talking about the cancer or associated cancer risk with hair straightening chemicals. Right, black women use these products more than the Caucasian women. So that's essentially the point. It's not because you're black, but because of your preferences and lifestyle choices, you are exposing yourself to disease and illness. That's what we're talking about. So stick and stay on Joy 99.7 FM. I'm signing out now. Naughty by Nature. Produced by Abeku Sankofi. And as you know, we have the mini Joy FM pop quiz where one of the kids will win an educational trip to Singapore. Stick and stay. Adam Naite brings that. I'm out.